right, joining us today on Pirate Radio Live to take a closer look at the Florida Gators is Kevin Brockway from the Gainesville Sun and Gannett Florida Network. Kevin, we appreciate your time. How you doing?
How are you? It's good to be on, and should be some interesting times this weekend in Myrtle Beach, right?
No doubt, no doubt. Kevin, first of all, the excitement level right now for a Gator fan, obviously baseball, people are excited, but there's a lot of attention to turn to, the fall football coming up, and also Alex Condon, of course, coming back to basketball. So I don't know, Gators sports interest are maybe split a little bit right now. How much attention and love is baseball getting from the Florida fans at this moment comparatively to football and basketball?
Well, let's not forget softball's in the Women's College World Series this week, so they're starting up. The men's golf team, believe it or not, that won a national championship two years ago. They're in the Final Four in match play. So, yeah, a lot of good going on. I mean, track and field traditionally does well this time of year. So, really, with Florida, it's an everything school. But, coming off the basketball national championship as well, which was really a biggie and obviously a little bit of a surprise. I think a lot of people thought that Florida was going to have a strong squad. I thought maybe like a Sweet 16, Elite 8 level squad. I didn't quite think it would, be this much, but Todd Golden and his staff did an unbelievable job all season long. The pieces all fit. Walter Clayton Jr. Became one of the premier players in college basketball, and is probably going to be a first-round pick later in June next month. And it all kind of came together for them. So, and obviously with Alex Condon coming back this week, I think there's a strong chance they'll be in the top 5. So baseball. Listen, traditionally, the last 2 years, they've been in the College World Series under Kevin O'Sullivan. It's been a little bit of a struggle this year. I mean, it was a struggle last year as well. I think defining roles, pitching-wise, for sure. But I do think that it's starting to come together now. They've won 18 of the last 24. And I think they come in the regional in a pretty good spot with a pretty good draw.
Kevin, before we get to this matchup, when I think ECU Florida – a little bit of history. About 10 years ago now, they met in a bowl game and then played a game in the Swamp the following season. East Carolina lost both of those games by one possession, very close games. In fact, the bowl game was the final game for Shane Carden and Justin Hardy. Carden throws to Hardy, intercepted by Hargraves, who grew up playing football in Greenville because his dad coached with Skip Holtz here at East Carolina. So some connections there. But were you covering the Gators at all when ECU and Florida met on the football field?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know if I was necessarily at that game because I was more of the main basketball writer. But obviously, yeah, Vernon Hargraves I was very familiar with. And I do think that, you look at ECU's football history, right? You go all the way back to Jeff Blake, who was played in the 90s there, quarterback. It's a pretty proud history there with the Pirates. And I think, didn't Will Greer's father played at ECU,
Yeah,
I think?
Chad
right?
Greer.
He was a quarterback there
Yep.
as well. And Will, spent some time here in the early going. So it's interesting, the connections between the programs. And, Florida football, it's, very much like basketball. Their last national championship was in 2007 before this year. They're looking to get back under Billy Napier. And it's been an interesting 4 years, but I think there's a little bit of positive momentum in their 4-game winning streak at the end of the year. Their first winning season since 2020. And with DJ Lagway back at quarterback, and he had a little bit of a health scare, but he seems to be coming through it in terms of his shoulder and should be ready to go in time for fall camp. I think there's a lot of optimism, for football as well going into 2025.
Kevin, I guess I'll hold a grudge. I'm still trying to appreciate Florida football like I did in the 90s. I enjoyed watching them, but then I am a long-suffering Washington Redskins Commanders fan. That we've got some light at the end of the tunnel now, obviously, with Jaden Daniels. But when Steve Spurrier went there and brought in Shane Matthews and Danny Warfel, oh, my goodness, it was disgusting. And I've held a grudge to Florida for some reason for that for all these years. But no, always enjoy watching games in the Swamp. What a fun atmosphere, and looking forward to football. All right, folks, we'll get to baseball. I know folks want to hear about this baseball team. So we talked to Aaron Fitt, D1 Baseball, yesterday. He said Florida was the number 2 nobody wanted to see in their region. And man, I've just looked on paper at what they've done the last month and a half-ish with the the sweeps, the beating Texas, the winning series 2 out of 3. They've just been phenomenal. What was the kind of lightning rod for that, Kevin? I've heard health. Did they get some guys back? Did they just kind of figure it all out? Why this amazing run they went on here late in the year?
Well, I think they figured out the pitching, and health wise, they've really had some more bad luck the second half of the season. I mean, they lost Colby Shelton, their leading hitter, to a hamate bone injury. And then the final series of the regular season, they lost Luke Kamen, who was really coming on, their starting catcher, to a broken forearm. So, I mean, they're still really banged up. And, during the year earlier, they lost Kate Curlin, second baseman, Kyle Jones. So they've really been snake bit with injuries, but the pitching has come around. And one big, in terms of pitching wise, one guy who returned to help stabilize the rotation a little bit is Pierce Coppola, the big 6'7" kid who was out from about March 1st, in that Miami series until about May 1st. And another guy that's tremendously stepped up, a guy I'm writing about tomorrow, is Aiden King. This freshman has been sensational. One earned run in his last 13 and a third innings, pitched 7 shutout innings in the Texas series in the rubber game on Sunday. He is really coming on, and he's going to be an interesting guy. I don't know if he's going to pitch Friday night against East Carolina, but I would gather that he would pitch Saturday in the game against Coastal if both those teams win, and they will feel pretty good about Aiden King going on the mound. Even though he's a freshman, he's got maturity that belies his year, works both sides of the plate really well. He is their best pitcher right now. Liam Peterson is the ace and the Friday guy, and will probably go Friday. But if I were to put my money on a game with the Florida pitcher on the mound right now, it'd be Aiden King. I mean, he's just pitching at a very high level.
How about the offense that we'll see? What are the most dangerous spots in this lineup for the Gators 1 through 9?
Well, like I said, the injury to Luke Kamen kind of hurt, and they are hoping to get Colby Shelton back. He's had a broken hamate bone. He's been out for about a month, and I think they've been targeting this weekend for his return, regionals. Although I haven't heard definitively yet as of Wednesday if he's definitely going to be back. But he would add something to the lineup for sure, batting .377, 19 doubles, 7 homers of the year. You look at this lineup, though, they don't have that aircraft carrier they've had the last 2 years, a guy like a Wyatt Langford or Jack Caglione, who, by the way, is tearing it up in AAA with the Royals and maybe called up any minute now to the bigs. And, of course, Wyatt Langford is playing for the Texas Rangers, too. I wouldn't necessarily say they have that kind of a hitter in this lineup, but they've got, if Shelton comes back, they've got some good length. And, Brody Donay has taken over the catcher role. He's leading them with 17 homers. Bobby Bozer, a transfer from USF, has been a nice surprise this year, batting leadoff. He's got about 60 homers, 61 RBIs. Brendan Lawson, a freshman who's played first and played third, and he's probably going to go back to his natural position at first if Shelton comes back. He's hit a little bit of a freshman wall, but was hitting the ball really well. 57 RBIs, 9 home runs. A lot more of gap hitters. Hayden Yost is a guy that can, has come on a little bit the second half of the season as well. And Blake Sear, the transfer from Miami, a little disappointing, but he can occasionally give you a double or homer. So I think they've got guys, 1 through 6, 1 through 7, that can produce a little more speed in this lineup than some past Kevin O'Sullivan teams, which could play well in regionals in terms of manufacturing runs as well.
Kevin Brockway joining us. Kevin, Gator fans spent a lot of money following that Florida basketball team a few months ago, so they're recouping some of that. Do you think? And you mentioned the softball World Series. It's a short trip for the Pirates to get to Conway, South Carolina, to the regional. How about Florida? You think there'll be some blue and orange represented in the stands there?
I think there could be. I mean, it is a 5-6 hour drive. It's a little long. I would expect if they can, find a way to win the region and get to the Super at Auburn, which is more of a manageable 4 or 5 hour drive, you might see more Gator fans there than you would in Conway. But I think they'll have a representation. I mean, Florida, as a baseball fan base, they've drawn traditionally well. I mean, the new ballpark down there, Condon Ballpark, is beautiful, and they were kind of hoping, having their fingers crossed, that maybe the late run of the season they would host. It didn't quite work out that way, but I do think that they their fan base does travel a little bit, and I think you will see some fans in the stands, but maybe not as much as East Carolina because it's a closer proximity.
Yeah, Kevin, I don't think we fully grasp the gauntlet that is the SEC schedule, and with Pirate fans and and the group of five and all that. We kind of get tired of the talk. Heck, right now we're kind of happy the ACC's been put in their place by the SEC and Big Ten a little bit, but man, that weekend to weekend, that if you don't bring it every night, you see it in the results, right? Which I think speaks to what Florida did the second part of this season.
Yeah, well, they started 1-11 in the league, and a little bit of it was camouflaged by the fact that basketball was on this great run in March. So, but I think the fans that were back at Condon Family Ballpark in Gainesville were grumbling a little bit about that, and they got swept by Vanderbilt at home, they got swept by Georgia at home. But really, another key piece was solving the closer role, because they had Alex Philpott there early in the season. It didn't quite work out. Jake Clemente, who started out the year as a weekend starter, Saturday starter, has moved into that closer role. He's 7 of 7 on save opportunities, and that stabilized the back end of the bullpen as well. Luke McNeely is another guy that's pitching a little better out of the bullpen. Christian Rodriguez. So I think figuring out the pitching roles was one of the main things, because they've hit pretty well for most of the season. But you look back at some of those series in the Ole Miss game. I think they lost one game 11-8, and with aluminum bats, anything can happen. But I think it's been more, them figuring out, the pitching, the ability to hold leads, which they weren't doing early in the season with the bullpen, has been one of the keys.
Kevin Brockway joining us for folks that want to know the enemy a little bit closer. Kevin, how can people follow your work and learn more about this Gator team?
Yes, GainesvilleSun.com, at Gatorsports.com, and my X handle, Twitter handle is at Kevin Brockway G1.
Kevin, I enjoyed the chat, man. Maybe we'll do it again down the road if these two schools meet, or if Florida goes on another run. I'll give you a call and we can talk about that. But we appreciate your time today, Kevin. Enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you again down the road, man.
All right. Thank you very much.